Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Really? Were you?
You're listening to the Theology of Games podcast, your source for gaming news, reviews, and interviews with the top voices in the industry. Find us online at theologyofgames.com. And now, here are your hosts, Scott Firestone and Jeremiah Isley.
Welcome, everyone, to the Theology of Games podcast. This is podcast number 2, and we have so many things to talk to you about. GenCon and games we've played, and question of the month, and discussion of the month, and all kinds of great things. So we are going to jump right in, and thank you for tuning in, listening in, and we're going to have some fun. So I'm Scott Firestone, and this is...
I'm Jeremiah Isley. How's it going, everybody? Welcome again. Just to reiterate what Scott said, thanks for joining us for podcast numero 20. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't speak any other languages, but yes.
Awesome. So anyway, we want to talk about some news in the gaming industry. And at the time that we're recording this, we are a week out from GenCon, which is probably, in North America, it's the biggest gaming convention. But I don't know, is Essen bigger, do you think? Or
I don't know how many go to Essen, but I did read this week that GenCon broke their previous record, and they had... Like, normally they go, we have 40,000 people. They had 49,000 people this year.
Wow. That's ridiculous. And they could have had 2 more, but we didn't go.
We didn't. It seemed like every other blogger on the planet was there, but not us.
I almost couldn't read Twitter at all during that weekend because it was just, hey, I did this, and hey, I did that, and this was awesome, and that was awesome. And it was all about GenCon, and I was sitting at home crying.
I got to hang with this publisher, and they gave me this prototype, and I'm playing, and no one's ever seen pictures of this before, and I was crying and jealous.
It was bad. But so that's like the big news in the gaming world right now. There's not much else. What have you seen that has kind of sparked your interest from GenCon that we didn't get to partake in?
Well, the biggest thing for me was those gigantic Star Wars ships. Man, Fantasy Flight, I guess this is supposed to be their biggest moneymaker, the X-Wing Star Wars game.
Yes. And
they're coming out with these big ships, and they look pretty cool. They're really expensive, like $80 and $90, I think. They like one of them is the transport, and I can't remember what the other one. It's the
Tantive 4, I thought I saw listed, was one of the ones, which is, of course, Princess Leia's ship it's a Corellian Corvette that gets overtaken by a Star Destroyer.
Oh my gosh, what are you doing right now?
I don't know what just happened there. I'm sorry. So anyway.
This ship is the Illudium Q-36 explosive space modulator, and it was in the Battle of Butt Nut 4.
Right. But no, those ships are massive and huge, and I'll probably never own one unless like Fantasy Flight actually sends one to me, because I don't have $90 to spend on one ship which is just a piece or a part of a game. But it's a cool game. X-Wing, the engine that drives that game is amazing, but I just don't have $90. I was flipping out over the Millennium Falcon, which is like 35, 40?
It's 30 for the MSRP, yeah.
Yeah, so even that is just man, it's a cool ship, but I don't know.
I was shocked how many people were willing to a lot of people were posting, and maybe they were just blowing smoke, but they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to drop $80 on the ship, no problem, because I love Star Wars." And I thought, man, are you single? Do you have tons of disposable income?
Well, a lot of gamers are kind of nerds, and maybe they have like computer programmer jobs where they sit and just print money. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't have that job.
I don't either. So
I will not be buying one.
That will not be me.
But if somebody in my group buys one, I will play the crap out of that thing.
Heck yes. Heck yes. The cool thing that I saw pictures of that had me kind of drooling, and I heard about in the recent State of Games podcast, was the Rampage prototype that was there.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember who's publishing it, and sorry about that. Whoever's publishing it, I'm sure you're awesome and very cool, but it sounds like it's a mix of some card playing and dexterity, where you're like flicking things and meeples are falling out of buildings and then your monster eats them. I remember being a kid and playing Rampage at the local Subway, because they had a couple video games there. And not the Subway like the train station, like the sandwich place.
Right.
And so Rampage, the video game, was like my all-time favorite. I grew up watching Godzilla and all that stuff. And there's this ridiculous looking board game iteration of it, and it looks really, really awesome. So to me, I don't know. There's a lot of cool things that happened at GenCon. That probably stands out as one of the best or most exciting, I guess.
It looked pretty cool. And here's my vow. I vow that I'm going to really think hard and a lot about maybe possibly going to Gen Con next year on the off chance.
I made that same vow last year. I said, I'm really hoping to try to go. And I tried to go, but it wasn't happening this year. And for me, it's even drivable. You know, for you in Colorado, okay, that's a bit of a drive, or maybe a flight involved
It
at
might
that
be a
point.
flight, yeah.
But for me, you know, it's 5-ish hours. You realize we were both there in March. We were just way early for the con.
Yes, we were at a youth ministry convention in the same place.
Yes.
With fewer people and
no games.
No games.
Well, there was one game.
We did play a game of the Resistance at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. It was very cool. And we got a lot of people hooked on it at that point in time as well.
Yes, in fact, we're getting together with a few of those people in a few weeks, and they said, "Hey, can we play that one game, whatever that thing was called, whatever?"
It was all like backstabby and convoluted and whatever. Yeah.
And we said, "Oh yeah, we can do that." So that was the news. Yeah, Gen Con, we are going to try super hard to be there next year because we just feel like we are missing out.
Totally, we are. But we don't just feel like it; we actually are.
I both feel like it and actually am.
Agreed.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about things we've had on our game table recently. I had a game night this week, and I was able to play 2 new-to-me games. One of them was the new Lords of Waterdeep expansion, Scoundrels of Skullport. And I'm not a huge Lords of Waterdeep fan, but I like it a fair amount, and I was looking forward to the expansion, and it really is cool. It has 2 new expansions. You can pick one of them, or you can combine the 2 of them into a long game. The second one the Undermountain one didn't seem very interesting, or it didn't seem to add all that much. But the Skullport one has this new mechanic called Corruption, and I don't know if you're familiar with Lords of Waterdeep much, but it's a worker placement game, so there are different buildings you put your guys on, and they do different things. This expansion adds new places for you to go, and you get better stuff, but if you take it, you're also taking corruption tokens. And the more people in the game that take corruption tokens, the more negative points you'll get at the end. So there's a little track that goes up in numbers. And so as people take more of these corruption tokens and do awesome things, then it's like, oh, it's worth neg 8 points at the end of the game, neg 9, neg 10. And I like to do this in games. If I'm supposed to be a bad guy or if there's a bad option, I'll be the one who doesn't take it. And so in this game, I said, I'm never going to take corruption. And I never did. And so it was kind of fun watching that number go up. And then I was able to play cards that I could force other people to take even more corruption.
Right.
There was one point where I could take, as long as everybody else had more corruption than me, I could take 6 victory points. So bam, I did that.
Nice.
It was a pretty cool mechanism. In the end, I didn't win. So it didn't work out for me. Somebody was able to get some things on the board that let them ditch some corruption at the end. So I was thinking, oh, they have a bunch, they're not going to win. But then at the end, they were able to get rid of them. So I thought.
So it's a calculated risk because you might be able to ditch some and pull out a win, but at the same time, you could just totally hose yourself.
Right. And so it's a neat mechanic, and it certainly made for interesting choices and decisions because the things you got were pretty cool, and you're like, well, maybe it's worth getting some corruption for that. So that's a good expansion as far as I'm concerned, and I'll be definitely picking that one up. The other one I played was Rialto, which is a new Stefan Feld game, and I am a gigantic Feld fan. He is, I don't know how he creates so many great games. This one felt a little flat for me.
Yeah?
It was, it's kind of similar to San Marco, which is an old Alan Moon game, in that it has canals, it takes place in Venice, it has the Pope in it, just as, general overview kind of things in it. The specifics are different. But
so, do you get to be the Pope, or
you don't? But I think you somehow use his influence to give you more influence in these different areas. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm not Italian, nor am I Catholic, so there might be things I'm missing there. But I don't think you are able to use him. So,
well, the Pope I hear is influential, though. So,
is that right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've heard that.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you learn something new every day.
There you go.
So. It was a fine game, and I think if it wasn't a Feld game, I would have liked it more. But in the end, I just got done, and I went, that was a little... I was kind of disappointed in that game. It was not bad.
A little short, huh?
Yeah, it was not bad. I don't think I'm saying it's bad. It's not bad. But I just thought, given his track record with me anyway, that I just thought, I would enjoy that more. So those are the things that have been on my table. How about you?
I recently finally played Stackbots, which we were fortunate enough to get a copy sent to us. I don't know if you've played this yet.
I have not.
It's a single deck game where it's again a game where you're kind of just sharing cards, and everybody gets dealt this stack of cards that are all these different bots, and you're basically trying to deplete everybody else's stack of bots. Hence the name Stack Bots.
I see.
See how that works?
Yeah.
So very clever. It's an English game, so it's got to be clever, right?
Oh, those guys know stuff.
They do. And it was fun. We kind of blew through the game really fast because we were trying to get to another game. It served as a filler for us in the truest sense. Mm-hmm. So I guess I can't say that I loved it or I hated it or it was good or it was great or it was bad, but there's some promise there for sure, and I could see it being expanded in the future and adding more bots and more abilities. But basically, as bots get scrapped off of your stack, the next one gets flipped up, and there's entry effects that will damage other bots or cause other bots to fall down in the numerical order of the stack of your opponents. So it's a little bit of randomness, but it's a little bit of, you also have a couple cards in your hand, so you can bring those in, which will trigger that entry effect. So there's a little bit of synergy there, and you can kind of play your cards and combo them up and try to kill off a bunch of bots and stuff. So there were some decisions and there was some fun to that. And I definitely want to give it another spin. I played with there were three of us playing, and I want to say it goes up to 6 players. So I could see it getting really kind of chaotic in a fun way. We also, again, played King's Forge, which we just reviewed and you and I both loved. And I, again, enjoyed it as much as I did the first few times that I played it. Just, again, lots of fun, lots of crazy dice rolling and manipulating the dice and all of that fun stuff. If you like King's Forge, or if you're interested in King's Forge, go check out our YouTube channel. We've got a really full review there, and we've also written a full review. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that, but I'm trying to remember if I won. I think I won, which made it even more awesome. So, because I think the last time I played, I lost, which wasn't so awesome. And then we played Boss Monster, which I haven't played that game and not played it again, like right afterwards. It's just fun. It plays pretty fast, so once you've learned it, the one thing that I've noticed with this game as we've played is there's still some timing things that seem wonky or at least not clear. I think I probably should just read the rule book a little more clearly because I know it's explained better. We have always just kind of rushed into it, but it's a fun game. It's not a deck builder. It's not a trick taking game. It's very unique in the sense of a card game that you really are. It says it's a dungeon building game, and you really are building a dungeon to attract these hapless heroes that wander into town, and you're plotting to kill them. And it's so much different than anything you've really ever played, at least that I have. So really, I've really enjoyed that game, and it's becoming a favorite among my gaming group. Anytime I mention it, they're like, "Yeah, let's play that." And so that's a good sign. That's really cool.
Absolutely. It's at the top of my list of things I want to play. And my son saw it today, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, Boss Monster looks really cool. Can we play that?" And I said, "Yes, we can."
Awesome. Yeah, definitely got to get that on the table very soon. We'll be reviewing that as well. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and move into a segment we're calling With the Kids. I don't know if that's an official title of what we're calling this, but anyway, it basically is a section of the podcast when we talk about games that we're playing with the kids, and more specifically, our kids. So the two games that have really kind of been forerunners lately have been, for me, in the Isley household anyway, has been Pigpen. Pigpen has, man, what a crazy game, and what evil, devious sides of my kids have I seen while playing this game. Our youngest, I tell you what, I've always said he's devious, but man, is he just cutthroat. Oh my goodness, he's so evil when we play this game.
I still have visions of you describing the first time you played with him and him making sawing noises when you play the card. That is amazing.
Yes, he will like hold the card like up and like just peer over the top of it and start going shh, shh, like making the, oh my gosh, it is so evil. I probably will have nightmares about it again. But so we've been playing that, and they keep asking for Incredibrawl, and I try to divert them a little bit. And, Incredibrawl has kind of grown on me. It still, to me, is just, I see rock, paper, scissors when I see the game.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's fun, and I've started introducing some of the powers and kind of getting into more of the full version of the game with the boys.
The quote-unquote gamer version?
Yes, and that makes it a little more fun and a little more strategic. But even still, with young kids, it's been hard to be like, okay, you want to play this because of this power, but at the same time, you don't know what I'm thinking or what card I'm picking, and I could totally just play a certain type of card and wipe that card away, and it doesn't do anything for you. So it's incredible, and they funded, they did great. I'm really happy for them, but it's something my kids love. So to me, it'll stay in that genre, and I'll play it with my boys when I get the chance and when they ask for it, and I can't talk them into something else. I know, really, really shining recommendation for the game, but
I've been there.
Yeah. So what about you?
This last week, I tried probably the most complex game I've ever played with he just turned 9 year old, and that was Lords of Waterdeep, the original without the expansion or anything.
Okay.
He had seen it on the shelf, and he sounded kind of interested, and I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. And he did great. He was picking up the strategies. He was figuring things out. He was And I helped him with some of the strategy and said, hey, maybe if you did this move, it might be a little better for you because of this.
Sure.
And but he did great. I was very impressed, and this is making me feel really good about possibilities for the future and some of the things he'll be able to play. And I'm really excited about us being able to jump into some deeper stuff. So that was exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I find it's odd. Maybe this is a topic for another podcast, but games like I'm looking at Zularetta, and the recommended ages on that are like 12 and up or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I play that with my 5-year-old. And I don't know if that's just because I play so many games with my boys.
Yeah.
That they have learned how certain mechanics of games work and how certain turn orders go, or is it just because it has small parts they say it's for older kids? I don't know. Maybe that's another discussion, but that's cool that your oldest is getting into Lords of the Waterdeep and just deeper stuff like that. Deeper, get that?
I see what you did there.
See what I did there? Anyway, that's very cool. That's always exciting. I've been playing HeroClix with my oldest, and he's been really getting into that and enjoying that. And I used to play me some clicks back in the day, and so I'm excited about that. Although I've noticed I've bought him some newer ones that they're selling at like Target and stores like that where you just buy them like singles. Mm-hmm. And he's gotten some pretty good ones. And I pulled out my older clicks that were really good back then, and he wipes me out.
Ooh, power creep.
Yeah, and I just think they're making them more powerful as they've started to hone the skills of making their clicks. I don't know, but we've totally derailed this conversation. But it's I've noticed that, and I told my wife the other day I might have to go buy some new ones of my own. So
you got to keep up with the boy.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
Cool. All right, so now we're going to talk about what we're calling the discussion of the month. And this, again, maybe not an official name, but anyway, question of the month, discussion of the month.
We're open to name suggestions for these segments as well. So
yeah, because that one is very literal and boring.
Yes.
And we're breaking one of our rules there of not being boring. But At any rate, so last week, as we're recording this, we stumbled upon this really great sale on Amazon. And some games were just terrific prices on them. And if you had Prime shipping, it was free in 2 days. And I picked up Stefan Feld game, Castles of Burgundy for like $22, which is just amazing. And we posted about it on the blog, and one of our readers, a guy named Rod from Big Move Games, go to bigmovegames.com. There you go, Rod, helping you out there, buddy. He got upset with us, disappointed, I would say, that we were posting about Amazon and sending people there to buy their games, because as a local brick and mortar store, that is eating into his ability to sell games, because Amazon can do it cheaper, and Amazon can give you free shipping, and Amazon can do all of these things. And we know Amazon is becoming maybe the Walmart of retailers, because they want to be everything to everyone. They want to have a warehouse in every state they can. They want to be able to get you something today. If you order something right now, they want you to have it in 4 hours. And they want to take away that ability to go, well, maybe I'll buy it local because I can get it today. And Amazon will say, no, you can get it today now. So I understand where he's coming from. And I understand that online stores are hurting the brick and mortar stores. But that's what we wanted to talk about today is what is our responsibility to brick and mortar stores versus online, whether that's Amazon or whether that's Time Well Spent or Boards and Bits or wherever you buy your games from if you buy them online. So what is our responsibility? So we're going to start talking about that. What do you think, Jeremiah?
I think first of all, it is 2013, and like right now, first of all, you know, we're talking about our blog and our podcast, which our blog is putting out of business newspapers and possibly magazines. Look at gaming magazines and publications. They aren't on shelves anymore.
Yeah, we killed them.
We killed them. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
And, podcasts, look at the state of the radio situation. It's all syndicated. There's very few local radio stations that are doing talk shows or topical talk shows. So there's a side of me that goes, hey, it's 2013, get with the times. If you want to play in this market, you got to get online sales. You got to do this. You got to do that. But there's also a part of me that says, well, there's just something that Amazon or online retailers can't do, and that's they can't host a gaming tournament on the weekend. They can't have a gaming night or a gaming day at a local area, or they don't have a venue for that. I think it's a two-edged sword. And we explained on the comments that we got about this just this past week that we're not suggesting, hey, go buy every game that you ever buy on Amazon. Yes, you can get better prices sometimes and free shipping if you have the Prime membership and all of that, but you also it's just the market. Sometimes there's a great deal and it's a game that you wouldn't necessarily have bought otherwise. So, okay, I can buy this game at a deep discount on this day. Okay, go for it. But at the same time, there's local game stores that I've supported. I've done a lot of business with. I've traded stuff with. I support them. I think they're great. It's Underhills Games. It's in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, State Road. Go check them out. They're really cool. Lee and Sean, those guys are great. But I also think, and I don't know, maybe you'll agree with this or not, there is a very prominent stereotype that if you walk into a game store and you maybe don't know what you're doing or what you're looking for, it's like the grumpy comic book guy on The Simpsons. They'll mock you, they'll laugh at you, they'll treat you rudely. And I'm not saying this of any specific ones, because I personally, I have experienced that, and that store is actually out of business, so I won't name names. But no, I just won't. So I think there may be some of that. Well, hey, I'm so-and-so's grandma. I know my grandson plays games, but I just don't want to walk into that game store. I'm freaked out to go in there, and I can buy that online and do it that way without the hassle.
Yeah, I have been in those kind of stores where they ignore you and where you walk in and the guy is playing Magic. You see a bunch of guys playing Magic and you're like, why isn't anybody helping me? And you realize, one of those guys playing Magic that doesn't care that I walked into a store is the owner, and he just doesn't care. So why am I going to support him? And then he's going to complain later. But look, if it weren't for a brick and mortar store, I wouldn't be board gaming today, because I walked into one of those and it was a nice guy and he said, hey, try this game, and he invited me to the game night. And so I owe a great deal to them, and I appreciate that they have tournaments, and I appreciate that brings in business. And every week, I game in the back of a brick and mortar store. They're also a comic store, and so I realized that if they weren't willing to let us do that, we would have to go to somebody's house, and we'd have to shrink the group, and there would just be huge headaches. But this place lets us play in the back. So for that very reason, I'm perfectly willing to spend some of my gaming dollars there. I want them to stay in business, and if I can do that through that, I'm going to do it. But at the same time, if Castles of Burgundy is $23, I'm going to occasionally do that, and I'm not going to feel any guilt about it, because I just can't. If I were to buy every one of my games at my brick and mortar store, I would have fewer games. The blog would be less than what it is, because we would have fewer games to play, and I don't know. Maybe that's a bad road to go down to as far as the logic of it, but I split my gaming dollars between a brick and mortar store and online, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like I said, it's the times, it's the market that we're in, and there are just as many local gaming stores who are doing huge business online as there are local ones that aren't. And so I think part of that is just the ability for local retailers to also just adapt a little bit. I'm not putting everything on them, but I also know, like the store that I mentioned that I go to, they do a very strong eBay trade, and that is a very viable part of their business. Mm-hmm. And that's just what it takes sometimes to stay alive in the market that we're in today. So,
well, yeah, I mean, look at the record industry. They, for so many years, put their head in the sand and thought, oh, this digital thing, we're just going to ignore it. And so now those dinosaurs of the music world, some of them are dead because they just refused to believe that anything was going to happen, and they refused to change. It's the same way with newspapers and those kind of things. If you see something coming down the road, you can doggedly refuse to believe it's happening. You can get upset with people for going to that new medium, whatever it is, and you will probably go out of business. Or you can say, okay, this is coming and there's nothing I can do about it except figure out how to ride the wave instead of stand there and hope that wave doesn't somehow hit you.
Absolutely.
So do a eBay, do whatever it takes for you to do that, do it. And also, don't be a weirdo jerk when people walk into your store. That should just be a rule.
I think that's the moral of the story, is a little bit of customer service, a little bit of eye contact, and hey, how's it going, goes a long, long way. Mm-hmm. You already have weird pictures of dragon slaying elves and dwarves and weirdness all over the place and that sort of thing. And so just be nice.
Be nice. Let's
You're
make a
freaking
t-shirt
everybody
of that
out.
And sell it on Woot.
There you go.
All right, that's our discussion of the month. We would love for you to weigh in on that question about local friendly game stores versus online stores. So hit us up in any of the places. You can Facebook, Twitter, on the blog itself. You can email us at theologyofgames@gmail.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So let's keep moving here. We would take a little bit of time and just discuss a few games that we are looking forward to. They haven't hit the market yet, but they have excited us. And you actually have one listed here that I don't know really anything about. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it.
Oh, are you?
Yes, I am.
It's called Yedo or
Can you tell by the excitement?
Yes, yes. Try and contain yourself.
I'm sorry.
My game is called Yedo or Yedo or Yedo. I don't know. I think it's been out for a little bit in Europe.
Isn't that Yoda's cousin? Or anyway, sorry.
Man, enough with the weird Star Wars references. So Yedo is about Japan and samurais, and you're trying to. I guess what I'm seeing from the videos is that it's kind of a combination of Lords of Waterdeep with worker placement missions, with some auctions that look to me a little bit like Princes of Florence, in that everyone's going to get one thing every turn, and you're trying to pay the least amount, and maybe get some people to think you want something different, and combining it all into this super thematic worker placement missions game that looks pretty cool. I guess it's coming to the States soon. It's been out in Europe for a little bit, and I may dislike it immensely, but from what I've seen, it really looks like a game that I would like a lot. So I think Aiello is publishing it, and I cannot wait to play it. It's a standing order in my game group. Hey, if anyone gets this game, bring it. I want to play it, and I get a seat in it.
That's right. Darn it, I'm playing this game.
Yes.
No, that does sound cool. One of the games that I put down as something that I'm looking forward to is also a worker placement game, and that's Stonemeyer's upcoming Euphoria game. I'm really, really interested because, well, first of all, Stonemeyer has done something just amazing with viticulture. I mean, they have really raised the bar with indie, kickstarted, published games. And just the quality of the game that they put out. And not only that, it's just legitimately a solid game. And I'm really intrigued because this is another worker placement game like Viticulture, but Viticulture, there's almost no there's no luck to the game. It's very much reliant on your strategy. The only randomness there is the luck of the draw of a few different piles of cards. But there's so much that is just reliant on the decisions that the players make. And it all is in the strategy of what you're willing to gamble on and move strategically while you're trying to outsmart your opponents. And Euphoria, it seems there's a lot of luck to it because dice become your workers. So you're rolling dice and those outcomes tell you how much those workers are worth and what their skills are. So I'm really curious to see, one, can they produce another game that is just as quality and lives up to what we just got totally blown away with the first game that they put out.
He crushed it.
I mean, they totally did. And two is, how is that going to be? Because it's the same genre of game, but it's a very contrasting mechanic of how it's driven. Mm-hmm. So that to me is very, very intriguing.
And we have to wait till Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. Unless he wants to send us an early one.
Winky,
hinty, hinty.
Hey, if you're listening, yeah, maybe. And then the other game that I'm really excited about, which is like the opposite. It's not that deep involved, sit down for like 2 hours and play a game, is Council of Verona, which is Crash Games, their first pub series game, which is like, there's like 30 cards in the game maybe, and it's lots of bluffing, lots of kind of intrigue and trying to kind of bluff your way into winning the game. And to me, it just looks like a lot of fun. It looks like just a ton of gameplay packed in a very, very small package. So that to me, and that's coming out sooner than Christmas. So hopefully we'll get our hands on that one soon. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice.
That's all you got? Just nice?
Nice? What do you want me to say? Nicely done, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I totally agree with you about Euphoria. Like I said, they crushed the campaign, and not just like we were super successful, but that was a textbook example of how to run a Kickstarter. From start to finish, everything was awesome. Then the game that comes out also is awesome because, let's face it, with Kickstarter, I would say that most games that I've played that were Kickstarter games weren't that great. They were okay and they were pretty good, but they could have used a developer that a major publishing house would probably employ and kind of, hone those rough edges of those games and figure out ways to make those a little more streamlined. With Kickstarter, it's just like, I have an awesome game and I'm going to send it to you and all my friends like it. Well, okay, but it might not be good. And Viticulture was just solidly good. So I'm really excited about Euphoria.
Definitely.
I don't know much about Council of Verona, but these small card games that have been coming out recently, they've been hit or miss, but the hits have been big hits for me. So I'm super looking forward to that.
And to me, I think Council of Verona looks like it's something that is probably going to be a hit. It has a lot of the elements in it that I look for in a game like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say it looks Resistance-ish because it's not really, but it has a lot of that, well, you don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I'm placing bets on these things, and I'm sort of wagering that this card's going to do something, but you don't know if I'm putting a negative or a zero bet on that, or if I'm betting the farm on that. So it looks to me like it's going to be one of those, and it's not, there's no player elimination or anything like that. So it's not like Love Letter or something where you could the game could be over for you before you even start.
Oh, Love Letter's not a good game. Don't believe the hype. It's not good.
I thought I'd throw that out there for you.
So yeah, you were just baiting me.
I really was.
Oh, well done, sir.
But Council of Verona is nothing like that. from everything that I've seen. It was the hype of Origins to a degree, and very excited about it.
So the resource review for this episode is Railways Express from Eagle Games. This is a simplified version of Railways of the World. So it is for 2 to 4 players, plays 30 to 60 minutes, and they say 15 minutes per player. And the interesting thing to me, and the thing I was most excited about, is that it's ages 7 and up. So that really intrigued me, and I can say that it was true. We played this with my 9-year-old. He just turned 9, and he had no problems. And we even played this with my 5-year-old, and he didn't really have. I mean, we had to help him obviously, but it was not that advanced for him. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, I actually have not played this with my kids yet, surprisingly enough. But I've played it with gamers and such, and they of course had no problem learning it. So 7 and up, definitely. Really cool, because usually even the games that I play with my kids are like 9 and 10 and 12 and up and stuff. So to see that was pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. So good job there, Eagle Games.
Yes. Very good. So let's talk a little bit about what comes in the box. There is a giant slab of a board. It literally kind of hangs off the edges of my round gaming table. It's massive. It's like a 6-way fold kind of thing. Really nice looking though. The art is bright and colorful, and all the different cities on it look really cool and everything. And then there's a bunch of plastic trains in 4 different colors, a ton of track tiles, which are basically just straights and curves. And then some of them on the back side of them have like a crossing variable on that. So it's like an X or like a double curve. So as you intersect with other tracks, as we talk about later on, you can use them for that. And then there's a number of cards. There are service bounty cards and railroad operation cards. And am I forgetting anything? I think
the dice.
The dice, and there's cubes. There's colored cubes that match the colors of your engines. And yes, there are 4 large, oversized, bulky custom dice.
Yes.
Is that a fair descriptor?
That's it. They're not engraved or anything. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
Embossed?
they're
just flat.
They're silk screened or something.
Yes, so they may wear off over time, but...
And they're wooden also. Some sort of balsa or other type of lightweight wood.
Just you with the wood knowledge.
I'm just saying.
You're like a woodchuck.
That's right, and I could chuck wood if I would.
So anyway, was I liked all the components. My one complaint on the board is that some of the tiles, it wasn't exactly clear what was on it. So some of them, the mountains, are very clear because they have mountains in the entire hex, and there's a white dot in the middle. That's right, obvious. But some of the things, it was like, well, if there's bright river in there, it's water, but then there'd be some areas that was kind of a muted river, and I wasn't sure. So is that a water tile? Is that not a water tile? I just felt like...
Yeah, that was a little tricky to navigate, and we kind of just settled on if there's water on it, it's a water tile kind of thing.
Yeah, and we did too, but
the way they explained it was a little unclear, I would say.
Yeah, and my gut says that those aren't supposed to be water tiles if it's very muted. So some of those lakes and even some of those tributaries, that they're not supposed to be water tiles. That's what my gut says, but we played it the other way. So it feels like if it's not supposed to be water, just don't have water in there at all. No one's going to be upset like, oh, you left out 20 miles of the Mississippi. I'm never playing this game again. No, just don't have water in there if there's not supposed to be water in there.
Exactly. So anyway, let's move on to gameplay, I suppose, is the next thing that we should talk about. The turn is pretty simple. It is basically you roll your dice, and the dice, there's 2 dice that have types of track on them, and there's 2 that have types of terrain. and there's plains and mountains and water, and then there's one that's kind of a wild side that will be any of what you'd like. And the track die have a double straight, a double curve, or a single straight and a single curve. And so each time you roll these, you basically can play 4 pieces of track on a turn. So you pair them up, and you pair one die, and you say, okay, these 2 curves are going to go on this type of terrain, and the other track die is going to match with this type of terrain, and then you lay track. And the reason you're laying track is because when you start the game and you choose your color, there are cities all across the map, and there are 4 cities that are specifically your color. And the goal of the game is to connect all 4 of your cities with track in some fashion. And if you do that and you're the first one to do it, you win. Hooray for you.
Good job, you.
Yay.
Yeah, and it may be that sometimes you're not able to play all 4 of your tracks just because of where you're positioned on the board. So you might only have one mountain next to you, and so you're only able to place 1 instead of 2. So you might be able to place only 1 or 2 or none, and that's just the way the game goes. There's a lot of the grasslands on the map, and then not as much of the other terrain. So 2 of the 6 sides have the grassland on it, 2 of the 6 sides have the wild on it, and then 1 mountain, 1 water.
Yes, and there is also, there's more than just the colored cities for each specific player. There are a ton of gray colored cities, and part of the setup of the game, you'll put a little cube of your color, of each player's color, on all of the gray cities. So if you are connecting through on your way from Chihuahua, Mexico to Ashland, and you connect through a gray city, you gain that cube, and that cube allows you to re-roll 1 or 2 of your dice on that turn. So if you do roll something and you're like, oh, that doesn't do me any good, you can pay 1 of those cubes and re-roll either 1 or 2 of those dice, and those can be both your terrains or however you want to split that up. So that kind of helps take some of the chancy, dice rolly, slave to the dice sort of aspect out of the game a little bit.
A little bit, but you aren't able to choose where you lay track. So once you lay track, you start in your starting city, and then you're moving toward the next city, whatever you decide. And then the only other option you have is you always have to start track from the last place you place track, or from another city of your color. And I suppose you'd only do that if you got blocked off. But still, you're mostly limited in what you can do. It's not like, well, this is blocked off on this roll, so maybe I'll come at it from the other direction. Nope, it's just you're starting here and you're moving here, and hope your dice work, and hope those rerolls work.
Yeah, and there were times where we saw players kind of stall, even with the reroll, and you would roll the dice and you're like, oh, well, I can maybe put 1 and that's it instead of 4. So you are kind of a slave to the dice. You're at their whim, sort of. But there's at least something in the game that gives you a better chance of not just being stalled as you move through the game. Let's talk about the cards while we're at it, and then we'll move on to our verdict on this one.
Yeah, so there are 2 sets of cards that come with the game, and they're completely optional. You can play with 1 or you can play with both. The first set is the service bounty cards, and those are basically, there's a card for every gray city that's in the game, and so the verbiage is the same on all of them other than the city. It says the first player to link their track to Las Vegas after this card is revealed receives an extra reroll cube of their color. And then there's Boise and Helena and every city on the map. And so you're turning over these cities, and if somebody connects there afterward, they can claim that bounty, and then they get an extra reroll card. And yeah, I mean, it just seemed kind of swingy to me.
Yeah, we've discussed this, and it felt a little bit like kind of an afterthought. It definitely, I'm guessing, I probably could have looked this up before we recorded, probably a stretch goal in the Kickstarter campaign. Doesn't seem like it's a base part of the base game. And the other set of cards are the railroad operations, and they basically just allow you to do things like build an extra segment of track, or that's kind of like a perfect engineering card, or you can use this card before you roll a dice, and you don't need to roll one of your terrain dice on this turn, and you can turn it to anything you want. So these are a little more thought out. I feel there's more options with them instead of just kind of, oh, well, if you get to that city, good for you.
Yeah, it does seem to add more randomness to a game that is already somewhat prone to that for me. So, oh man, I didn't roll, I re-rolled. Well, luckily I have this card that lets me just play I have the government land grant, so I can play anything I want. Go me. Or there's also some take that ones where somebody's about to lay it on a mountain. Maybe they finally, after 10 tries, roll the mountain, and then you play a card that says, you can't build on that mountain now, haha. And I can't imagine. I think my head would just fall right off of my shoulders if that happened.
Yeah, but the good thing about take that type of things is you can always get revenge. So, so those are the railroad operation cards. We haven't played a whole lot with my group. We haven't played a whole lot with the extra cards. The base game seemed to be enough for the game, and it just kind of seemed like we didn't really need them in there. So I don't know. Take that for what it is.
Yeah, the game, for what it is, seems to play just fine without these. I mean, I doubt I'll ever add them in, but if your group really likes take that and, hitting people with cards that mess up their plans, then you're going to love these cards.
All right, so let's move on to the verdict. So components. We've kind of discussed a little bit some of our questionable things with the board, mostly dealing with the water tiles and discerning which ones were which. I guess that is probably, there's probably a discussion on Board Game Geek right now that explains which ones are and which ones aren't. So if you really wanted to go look that up, you could do that in probably about 2 minutes. I felt the board, it's huge, like I said. It's almost too huge, but hey, it works. It's cool because it's really bright and colorful and everything.
I had to pull out my giant folding table that I use for like garage sales and things. I seriously did. I had to pull this out in order to play this game in my living room. And even then it was like, okay, the board took up everything top to bottom on that thing. And so we were kind of pushed off to the sides with our things. It's a gigantic board. It
is gigantic. I've got it out actually as we're recording because I thought everybody would want to see it on this audio podcast. But
well done, sir.
I've got this round felt table topper, and I cannot fit it on there. The corners stick out. I mean, it's not a lot, but they actually stick out off of the edge. That's how big it is. The rest of it, the tiles were great. They're thick and chunky, and those are fine. The plastic engines are, I guess, what you would expect out of another train game for miniatures. To me, I prefer like a train meeple, like a wooden, chunky, wooden piece. Mm-hmm. The cards are all great, great printing, great quality. And the dice, this is totally a subjective, personal taste. I didn't like the wood blocks for the dice. I like dice. I just think they're cool. I have a ton of them, and I like real dice. And these to me are kind of novelty-ish. and to me, not in a good way. But that's my personal hang up.
I'm not a dice connoisseur by any means, so I can't speak to that. But they were just fine. They were kind of, but I did think, those are. If I played this more, then I could see this just rubbing off. But
yeah,
that may not happen. It just seems like the kind that could.
It may not. It may be some super like laser printing, scorched. I don't know. I'm making words up now, but
scorched dice.
Scorched.
That was a Kickstarter promo. I'm pretty sure.
Branded. I think it was. I think I have that CD. All right, so let's talk about gameplay. Why don't you want to kick off with that?
For me, gameplay and my final thoughts are all kind of wrapped in one. I thought this game was fine. It was not the worst game I've ever played by any means. It was not great. This is not a game I'm probably ever going to play again with my game group. It is just too basic for that. And no matter what cards you add in there, I mean, the cards are only going to make it worse for me, but whatever cards you add in there, whatever you do, this is a game for families and non-gamers. And I think that's exactly how they're trying to market it, because it's in easier railways of the world kind of thing. And that's just what it is. But in the end, I don't know, there are better family games, because this is just very random and lucky. There's dice, and if the dice don't work, you can re-roll, but the re-roll might not work, and you're constricted by the land on the map from where you start, and it is a fine game. It is just not a great game for me.
Yeah, I think it's a fun game. We had a good time with it. I loved that it was really, really easy to learn, and sometimes you just open up the manual of a game and you're like, oh boy, I'm going to have to sit down with this. And this was the opposite. It was like, oh, this is really easy to pick up. And so for that reason, with casual gamers, with my friends, there's a group of friends who we hang out with that, I can't put viticulture on the table with them, but I could put this on the table with them. I could bring this out. It's interesting because it plays fairly quickly. If you have a 2-player, 3-player game, you could probably play a 3-player game under 45 minutes if the players knew what they're doing. So it almost fits a filler category, but it's huge. It's so massive.
Yeah. You never think of a map that big being a filler.
Exactly. You think of a filler game being, it's a single deck of cards that everybody plays from. So it's weird to think of it in that way, because the box is big, the map is huge. But I think I agree with you totally. Maybe not such a gamer game, maybe in a filler kind of aspect, but it's huge and there's a lot of setup for a quick playing filler type of game.
Yeah, it's taking up a lot of real estate in my game tub if it's going to be a filler,
Yeah, exactly. So definitely something I will play with the boys, and they'll love it because it's trains, and they love trains, and what 5, 6, 7-year-old boy doesn't love trains. So we will definitely bring it out with family game night, and I think it's a great option for that. And because of the theme being so fun and the map being huge, I think the kids will love that.
I definitely love how it goes down to 7 and up for the age, and like I said, we played with a 5-year-old, so I commend them for that, and I'm actually very happy about that. I love seeing them try that.
And I think they hit their mark with it. It's a stripped down version of a much deeper game, and it may not always be what I choose to play because of that, if I'm choosing to play something that's more involved, but I think they hit their mark with it. So it's an enjoyable game. Just know that there's a lot of chance involved with the dice, because you can alter them, but they can still get you. So know what you're getting into with this one, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, and like I said, I think they hit their mark.
My kids liked it. Probably more than I did, to be honest with you, but the fact that they liked it is great, and so I'm perfectly willing to play this with them anytime. It's short, as Jeremiah said, and you just have to find a gigantic table to play it on. But other than that, it's a pretty good game. It's definitely a good family non-gamer game. And there's not a lot of analysis paralysis if you bring it out with non-gamers, because they don't have 4 different places to choose. They're like, here's where you go from. Can you do it with those dice? Yes. Great. Then do that.
Right. Yeah. So super light in the decision-making process. Yes. So, yeah.
Well, that's our review for this podcast. It was Railways Express from Eagle Games. You can pick up your own copy for yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your enemies, whoever you want to. So now we're going to move on.
All right. So let's move on. We said in our last podcast, which hasn't actually aired as of this time.
It will this week.
We're getting there. It's going to be awesome. But we've kind of announced through the blog and through every other places that we really want to have dialogue as best we can with you. And because we're not a live show, that means you have to write questions to us, because that's just how it's going to work. So we had some great questions come in through the blog, and we are going to go ahead and address those as best we can. And we just want to thank those who wrote in with the questions. They are awesome, and we probably could do an entire podcast on just the 3 questions that we're going to do tonight. But really, really good stuff. And this, I'm really excited about this, because the more we've done this blog and we've started into the YouTube and now the podcast, the community aspect has just really jumped out at me, of how many people know each other in the gaming industry, and the gamers and the designers and publishers. It's like a big family kind of thing going on. And we want to be something that feeds into that and props that up. And so by you guys sending us questions and letting us kind of address them or answer them or give our take, we feel that helps that. So anyway, let's talk about the questions. The first question came from a fellow named Peter. We don't have a last name, but he said...
The disciple.
Yes. He really wanted to hear what we had to say about this. He said, how do you respond to Christians who still have the Puritan view that play is a waste of time that could be filled with far better things? The ones who only play games if they are educational, quote unquote, or like the ungame, ugh, exclamation point. First of all, we had to look up the ungame just before we started recording, because we hadn't heard of it. I thought they were talking about the existential game, which I just lost, and you did too. But the ungame looked like it was basically just icebreaker questions, and people took turns answering questions, and there was a game board involved somehow.
Yeah, and then it validated you, like, isn't it great to be free to ask questions, and you're doing great at listening skills, and it sounds like one of the most horrible things that has ever been made into a thing.
It seemed very preschoolish. So I guess, I don't know, do you want to take a stab at this first, or?
Sure.
Okay.
First.
So how do you respond to that?
I don't know. What are far better things that they could be filled with? I mean,
proselytizing.
Well, and how am I going to do that? Am I going to walk up to somebody and hand them a tract? Or am I going to ring on their doorbell and they're going to peek out their curtains and go, oh, crud, it's one of those Christians? Or am I maybe going to create a relationship with these people, and not a relationship in order to proselytize to them, but a relationship because I care about them. And then output of that caring about them is that I eventually want to talk to them about my faith. And so that's the reason that I lead a small group of teenage guys, because I want to get to know those guys, and I care about those guys, and I want to speak into those guys' lives. And part of that is going to be talking about Christ. So these better things that can happen around that is creating relationships and community. And my game group is not tight-knit, but there are guys in there that I would, if I were in trouble, my car breaks down, I would call one of those guys. Or if I needed some kind of help with something, I would call those. I've helped them move. They've helped me move. Which is kind of, the barometer of a good friend is somebody who's willing to take time out and get a hernia on your behalf. So it's things like that I mean, let's face it, if somebody really has a strong Puritan view that anything you do better be directly for Jesus and furthering the kingdom in a way that's saving souls, then you're probably never going to convince them that gameplay is okay. But I don't know. I just see it as a part of the whole of creating relationships with people, and you're sitting down across from them over a board and you're talking and you're sharing, and they're seeing who you are really deep down inside in the choices you make and in the things you bring up at that table as for talk. And frankly, I'll bet Jesus played. I'll bet he had fun. I'll bet he joked. I mean, let's face it, if we're going to say that he was fully human, most humans like to have fun and like to joke. And the ones that don't, I don't want to be around.
They might not be fully human.
They might be aliens.
Yeah.
In the Antarctic. Never mind.
It's the body snatchers all over again.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think it was really interesting when I talked with Chris Kirkman of Dice Hate Me Games when I went to Origins. And we were talking about, how well they were doing at the con, and like they've sold out a lot of their games. They're waiting on reprints to come in. And I said, that's great because that helps you to do what you're doing. And he was like, yeah, that's even great. But to us, games aren't just about selling and making money. It's about the friendship that happens at the table. It's about the relationship that happens around the games that we make. And I totally agree with that. I wrote a piece on the blog a little bit ago about why we play games. And one of the big reasons that I enjoy playing games, especially with my boys, is because there's so many life lessons that can be taught around a game. They learn how to win well. They learn how to lose well with character. They learn how they sharpen their minds. They learn strategies and troubleshooting. And so it's not, yes, it's a game and it's fun, but to me, there's just so much more that goes along with a game night. All the people that I game with are very good friends of mine. Some of my best friends are the friends that I game with. And you're absolutely right. The conversations that we have that aren't based on the games that we are playing are the deeper ones. They're the ones that are meaningful. They're the ones that we check in on each other and we talk about our lives and what's going on and the things that are hard for us right now and the things that we're rejoicing in. And so I completely agree with you. I feel like the game is just, it's a vehicle for us to get together and be with friends and family and the games are fun. I love them. They're great. I love to try to figure them out and beat everybody because I can be a jerk like that when I want to win a game. But
I know.
But there's so much more that happens around the game table. When I was a big video gamer, the games that I played were the ones that I could play online with the friends that I had made online. I'm totally making myself out to be a total nerd tonight, but I had super close friends online that I played SOCOM with like every night. And to me, it was more about hanging out with them than it was getting the most amount of kills that night. So that to me is the reason to sit around the game table.
Amen. So you tell those people over a game of no, don't play the Resistance with them. Over any game that's not the Ungame, that I don't know. Play games.
Yeah.
God loves fun.
That's right.
And if you don't think that, I don't think you read the Bible. I don't think you have a relationship with him. I mean that. If you think that God doesn't have fun, you must know a different God than I do.
Amen.
Okay. The second question. Our friend Mark Jackson, he is a pastor and an awesome guy. And he sent us two questions. Because of time, we're only going to do one this week or this month. And then if we have time, we'll we'll do another one next month. So, which one do you want to do, Jeremiah?
Let's do the second one because we just did a really heavy one. This one's a little lighter.
Boom. All right, here's Mark's question.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Which would you prefer, a game night with one long game or a bunch of filler and super fillers? Now, I'm wondering if he means there, like, one long game, you're only playing one game all night, or you're playing some smaller ones, not necessarily fillers, but maybe I'm putting words into his mouth.
Yeah, I guess I'm reading that as, you're gonna get together and play one long game, and that's it. Or you're gonna play like a couple of like mid-range, shorter games that are like 30 minutes or less. And I guess I would say yes. It really depends on a couple of things. It depends on who's going to be there, because there are some folks that we play games with, and if he's listening to this, he'll know who I'm talking about. I don't care, because we say this to his face. We've threatened to cut his hands off many times because it just takes way too long to take a turn. And after we just talked about the love of Christ. And but so it just depends on the type of game that we're going to play. It depends on who's going to be there. Not that I'm putting games away because somebody's there, but if there's somebody that can handle a deep game that's going to take 2.5, 3 hours, then let's go for it. If it's some folks if there's a little more of a mixed crowd, then I'm more likely to pull out fillers that I can teach really quickly. We can probably play more than once, so they can go, oh, that was really cool. Okay, let's play it again now that you know it, and do that sort of route. So I think that's probably my answer there. Is it's more a dependency on who's there. If I had, I don't know that I could actually say definitively I would rather have this type of game on the table at any given time. It really just depends on kind of the mood that I'm in, I guess. So that's a really non-answer for
That's
that.
like the ungame of answers.
It is.
But I'm validating you sharing your feelings. Or something, I don't know. For me, I have a Tuesday night game group that meets every week, and then we try to have a once-a-month game day. And
Right.
So because I have that other outlet, I generally on Tuesday nights want to get as many games as I can in. So
Right,
if
okay.
I can walk away saying, hey, I played 4 games, I'm super happy. Even if
Yeah.
one of them was junky, I'm like, okay, I've got 4 more ratings on the Geek, which is kind of a weird thing to care about. But so I just like playing all these different games. And on that Saturday, when we get together, it's not uncommon at all for us to go, okay, what is this longer game? We've played 6-7 hour games on those Saturdays, big, long beasts of games. And I'm totally fine doing that. But on Tuesdays, I just want to bam, bam, bam. Let's hit as many games as we can, play 3 games of the Resistance, some Time's Up, this, that, the other. So I'm not sure I'm answering this question fairly because I'm kind of separating my 2 game times, but generally a game night, which is what his question was, I would rather play a bunch of shorter games, whatever that looks like, even 90 minutes.
Yeah, and I guess like something that factors into that for me is, well, I would really, I cherish game nights, and I would really hate to play something that's super long and ends up being kind of terrible, or I end up getting like out of the running pretty soon and just trying to like bloody noses along the way, which I don't know. Actually, that can be a lot of fun. But as we talk about the love of Christ, and so to me, I have to be ready to play, invest that night in that game if we're going to play something longer. And I think that's been part of the reason why it's been hard for me to get Chicken Caesar on the table.
Is that a long game?
I don't know that it is I don't think it's super long. It's, the box is actually in my bag, which I can't get to right now. But it's probably a 90-minute game, and plus the learning curve on it.
Right.
The rule book is really dense. And so I think that's kind of been one of those things that's kind of kept that one off the table, is because, man, that's a lot to learn, and it's going to be a long game to kind of feel our way through the first time. And I just think there's a lot of apprehension there. So I don't know. I really want to play it. It looks like a lot of fun, and I will play it someday. I promise. Brian Fisher of Nevermore Games, if you're listening, I promise I'm playing that game and reviewing it hopefully very soon. Anyway.
Sure.
So let's move on.
All right. That is it for this episode, this podcast of ours, number 2. And we totally appreciate you listening. We are hopefully hitting that mark of not being boring. Let us know if we're not hitting the mark, that is. Not being boring.
Well, you could say, hey, you're not being boring too, which we would appreciate.
We would love to hear that, but only if it's the truth. But,
absolutely.
Right. So next month, we have a special giveaway for you.
Woohoo! Dude, I'm beyond pumped about this.
So Jason Tagmeyer, who we've interviewed a number of times, and he's a game designer, and Jeremiah interviewed him at Origins, he has sent us Pixel Lincoln. And it is a gigantic box. You could actually bury Lincoln in the box of Pixel Lincoln if you were here.
You might be able to bury what's left of him.
Yeah, you probably could. It's a huge box. He didn't send us 1. He didn't send us 2. He sent us 3. That means 1 for Jeremiah, 1 for me, and 1 for you. And when I say you, I mean one of you.
And we should say Game Salute helped provide those as well. They were very, very awesome.
Yes.
And taking part of and making this happen. But anyway, continue.
No. So we also thank Game Salute. We salute you, Game Salute.
Yes.
So next podcast, we are going to give you the clue, the answer, the deal with how to win your own copy of Pixel Lincoln to be sent to you. And so just listen to the next podcast, which will be approximately a month from the time you're hearing this one, if you listen to this when we first put it up. So that's really not helpful at all. But
it isn't at all.
If you subscribe to our podcast in iTunes, they will send it to you. Apple is so nice that way. They will send it to you and say, hey,
to Apple.
Here's new things for you to listen to about board games, and it'll be super fun. So, next podcast, details on the Pixel Lincoln giveaway, and we will be playing it before then and reviewing it, and we'll have a video review and just all kinds of great stuff with that.
Yeah, we're excited about it just a little bit.
I can't wait.
This is, Pixel Lincoln's probably like one of the first Kickstarter games that we as a blog were like super excited about and covered a lot.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I think so. So we kind of grew up as a blog with Pixel Lincoln. So to be able to give this away and give it the full Theology of Games treatment is really special to us, and we're really, really grateful. So, yeah, thank you, Game Salute. Thank you, Jason Tagmeyer. Jason's just a cool dude. I got to meet him and chat with him. I text the guy all the time now. Like, if I'm playing one of his games, I'm like, hey, how does this work? Or, hey, I think my kids broke this game or something. And he's just like, oh, yeah, well, what about this? And, like, it's just cool. He's a really nice guy. So, Jason, thank you for all you've done to contribute to the blog and everything.
Awesome.
I'm done kissing butt now.
Yeah, thank you. Any Star Wars trivia you want to drop on us before we go any? Okay. So, last thing is we would love for you to email us more questions and things for us to talk about and your opinions. That's going to feed the show. It's going to help us come up with topics. So, give us your questions. It doesn't matter what it's about. It can be about board games. It can be about faith. It can be about our families. It can be about anything. It can be about all those things. And we would love to discuss those.
Yeah. Anything that you just want us to talk about or is a concern to you, and yeah, bring it to us and we'll chat about it because we like to talk.
We do?
Yeah. We've been doing it for like almost an hour now. So,
sir, I'm looking at the clock and it's well over an hour. We're breaking our rules right and left. Okay, so you can email questions or comments or whatever to theologyofgames@gmail.com. You can contact us on Twitter. You can just either directly send a tweet to us Or we're also going to try the hashtag TOG Podcast. Hashtag TOG Podcast for questions. Or you can just directly send them to Theology of Games. You can ask questions on Facebook. We'll probably put occasionally blog posts like we did for this last one where we ask people to throw questions our way, and that's how Peter and Mark got questions to us, and that works great too.
Yep,
So,
just comment on the blog. We love that stuff.
Whatever method you want. Pony Express, Telegraph.
Smoke signals.
know
Carrier
them all.
pigeon.
Carrier pigeon, yeah, that's a good one.
Semaphore, flag semaphore.
Oh, it's you. All right. So, thank you for joining us on this podcast. We truly appreciate you guys listening, and we wouldn't be here without you. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, just hit us up. We want to hear from you, and please tell your friends about the podcast, subscribe, review us, all that fun stuff. So appreciative of you giving us a little bit of your time to hear us ramble on about all the nerdy things that we do.
And if I had money, I would play Led Zeppelin's Ramble On right now as we're leaving, but I'm not going to pay Led Zeppelin any money.
And you might get sued just for mentioning it.
Right. So I did not say Ramble On by Led Zeppelin. And
Not
don't
at all.
play that. You're
Never
wrong.
once.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a devil song anyway, because, right.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just saying that.
Maybe that's something to talk about in a future podcast about Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
All right. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Theology of Games podcast with Jeremiah Isley and Scott Firestone. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd appreciate your subscription to the podcast and your review on iTunes. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day, and until next time, get a game on the table.
That was dumb.
Onward.